Book of Heaven, Volume 19, 1st to the 8th August 1926. Page 147 to 155. August 1, 1926. The Secret of Jesus, the power and goodness of his secret. I was longing for my sweet good, the life of my life, and since he was not coming I thought to myself, how hard is his privation. Ah, Jesus does not love me any more, and not only have the caresses, the kisses, his great shows of love which he so abundantly gave me before ended, but his lovable and enrapturing presence also keeps me waiting longer and longer. Oh, God, what pain! What a continuous martyrdom! What a life, without air, without breath! My Jesus, have pity on me, on your little exiled one. But while I was thinking of this and other things, my always lovable Jesus came out from within my interior, and leaning his arms on my breast, told me, "My daughter, you deceive yourself in saying that I no longer love you as before. On the contrary, you must know that my kisses, my caresses, the shows of love I gave you, were the outpouring of my love. Unable to contain it in my interior, I showed it to you with many loving signs, and since between you and me there wasn't a great work to do, I amused myself with you with many signs and stratagems of love. But this served to prepare you for the great work that was to be carried out between you and me, and when one works there is no time to amuse oneself. However, in spite of this, love does not cease, but is increased 100 times, strengthened and sealed. Now, my daughter, having shown to you the outpouring of my constrained love, I wanted to move on to give you what I contained within me. I wanted to communicate to you the great secret of the kingdom of my will, giving you the goods it contains. And when important secrets are communicated, and this is the most important secret of the whole history of creation, amusements, kisses and caresses are put aside, more so, since the work of the kingdom of the supreme volition is exuberant, and the greatest that can exist in the whole history of the world. Therefore, manifesting my secret to you surpasses all loves together, because in the secret there is the sharing of one's life, of one's goods. In the secret there is trust, there is reliance. And do you think it is trivial that your Jesus has trust in you, and that you are the object of my hope? But not just any trust and hope, rather, the trust of entrusting to you the kingdom of my will, and the hope that you will place its rights in safety and that you will make it known for me. Now, having entrusted to you the secret of my will being the essential part of the divine life, I would not know what to give you that is greater than this. How can you say, then, that I love you less than before? Rather, you must say that this is the great work required of you and of me in the kingdom of my will. You must know that I am always occupied and all intent on working in you. Now I expand your capacity, now I instruct you, many times I move on to work together with you, other times I make up for you. In sum, I am always occupied, and this says that I love you more and more, but with stronger and more substantial love. August 4, 1926. One who is in the divine will is safe, wherever she might be, because in it there are 4 floors. My days, my hours, are always in the nightmare of the so very hard privations of my sweet Jesus. Oh, how painful it is to pass from light to darkness, and while one thinks she is going to enjoy the light, he escapes like a flash, and one remains in the dark, more than before. Now, while I was under the press of the privation of the light of my sweet Jesus, and feeling that I could take no more, my dear life, my highest good, moved in my interior, and as I felt him I said to him, "Jesus, how can you leave me? Without you I don't know where I am." And he, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, what? You don't know where you are? Are you not in my will? The house of my will is large, and if you are not on one floor you must be on another. In fact, my will contains 4 floors. The first one is the low level of the earth. That is, the sea, the earth, the plants, the flowers, the mountains, and everything else that exists in the lower part of the universe. My will dominates and rules everywhere. Its place is always of queen, and it holds everything in the palm of its hand. The second floor is the sun, the stars, the spheres. The third is the azure sky. The fourth is the fatherland, mine and of the saints. In all of these floors my will is queen, it occupies the first place of honor. Therefore, whichever of these floors you might be on, be certain that you are always in my will. If you go around in the lower part of the universe, you will find it awaiting you in the sea, that you may unite with it to do what it does. As it carries out its love, its glory, its power, it awaits you on the mountains, down below in the valleys, in the flowery fields. It awaits you in all things, that you may keep it company, so that you may omit nothing. Even more, you will be the repeater of its acts, and once you have gone through the first floor, move on to the second, and you will find it awaiting you with majesty in the sun, so that its light and its heat may transform you and make you lose your being, and you may know how to love and glorify as a divine will knows how to love and glorify. Therefore, go around within our house, in the works of your Creator, because He awaits you everywhere, that you may learn His ways and repeat what my will does in all created things. In this way you will be sure of being always in the supreme volition. Not only this, but you will be always with me, and even though you do not always see me, you must know that I am inseparable from my will and from my works, and therefore, since you are in it, I will be with you and you will be with me. Having said this, he disappeared like a flash, and I remained in the dark, more than before, continuing my acts in the supreme volition. But while I was doing this, I prayed him to come back to his little daughter, saying to him, "My Jesus, I pray you by virtue of your own will, and since your will is spread throughout the whole creation, filling it completely, it is your very will that prays you in the sun to come back to your little newborn. It prays you in each star. It prays you in the azure sky to hasten to come to the one who cannot live without you. It supplicates you in the sea, in its roaring waves, in its sweet murmuring, to come quickly to your little exiled one. Don't you hear, my love, my voice in your will resounding in all created things, and all creation praying, supplicating, sighing, crying for you to return to the little one of your will? How can so many voices not move you to pity? How can so many sighs not push you, and not make you fly? Don't you know, O Jesus, that it is your will that prays you, and if you do not listen to it, it is your will that pays the price? And I believe you cannot do without listening to it. But while I was saying this and yet more, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior, transforming me completely in him and sharing his bitternesses with me, which were already too many. Oh, God, how many sad things he showed. And his heart was pierced. Then, afterwards, as though wanting to cheer himself, making himself seen with his usual pen of light in his hand, he told me, "My daughter, let us put everything aside. Let us speak of the kingdom of the supreme will, which interests me so much. Don't you see how I am always in the act of writing its qualities, its celestial laws, its power, its divine prodigies, its enchanting beauty, its infinite joys, the order and the perfect harmony that reigns in this kingdom of the divine fiat, in the depth of your soul? First I make the preparations, I form in you all the properties of it, and then I speak to you, so that, by feeling its properties within yourself, you may be the spokesperson of my will, the crier of it, its telegraph and the little trumpet which, with a shrill sound, may call the attention of those passing by to listen to you. The teachings I give you about the kingdom of my will be like many electric wires, which are such that, when the appropriate communications are established and the necessary preparations are made, a single wire is enough to give light to entire cities and provinces. The power of the electricity, with rapidity greater than that of the wind, gives light to public and private places. The teachings about my will be the wires. The power of the electricity will be the fiat itself which, with enchanting rapidity, will form the light that will cast away the night of the human will, the darkness of passions. Oh, how beautiful the light of my will be! In seeing it, creatures will dispose the devices in their souls in order to connect the wires of the teachings, so as to enjoy and receive the power of the light that the electricity of my supreme will contains. Do you want to see what will happen? Look, I take one wire of my teachings linked to your soul, and you emit your voice within the wire. Say, I love you, I adore you, I bless you, whatever you want to say, and be attentive on looking. I said, I love you, and that I love you changed into characters of light, and the electric power of the supreme volition multiplied it, in such a way that I love you of light would go through the whole vault of the heavens, fix itself in the sun and in each star, penetrate into heaven, fix itself in each blessed, form its crown of light at the foot of the divine throne, and enter even into the bosom of the supreme majesty. In sum, wherever the divine will was, there it would form its electric light. And Jesus continued, My daughter, have you seen what power the electricity of the supreme fiat has, and how it reaches everywhere? The electricity of the earth diffuses down below at the most, It does not have the power to reach even the stars, but the power of my electricity diffuses down below, up high, in the hearts, everywhere. And when the wires are disposed, with enchanting rapidity it will make its way into the midst of creatures. August 8, 1926. The more the soul is identified with God, the more He can give her and she can take. Example of the sea and the little stream. As I was in my usual state, I felt all abandoned in the arms of Jesus, and He, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, the more the soul is identified with me, the more I can give her and she can take from me." It happens as between the sea and a little stream which is separated from the sea only by a wall, so much so, that if the wall were removed, the sea and the little stream would become one single sea. Now, if the sea overflows, being near it, the little stream receives the water of the sea. If its roaring waves rise, in lowering again they unload themselves into the nearby little stream. The water of the sea pours into it through the cracks of the wall. So, the tiny little stream constantly receives the waters of the sea, and because it is little, it keeps swelling up and it gives back to the sea the water it has received, to then receive it again. However, this happens because the little stream is near the sea, but if it were far away, neither could the sea give, nor could it receive. Its distance would put it in the condition of not even knowing the sea. While saying this, he showed to my mind, in practice, the act of the sea and of the little stream, and then he continued, "My daughter, the sea is God, the tiny little stream is the soul. The wall that separates them is the human nature, which makes one distinguish God and the creature. The overflowings, the waves which rise continuously to unload themselves into the little stream, are my divine will that wants to give so much to the creature, that the little stream, being filled and swelling up, may overflow, may form its waves, swollen by the wind of the supreme will, and may pour back into the divine sea, to be filled again, in such a way as to be able to say, I live the life of the sea, and even though I am little, I too do what it does. I overflow, I form my waves, I rise and I try to give to the sea what it gives to me." So, the soul who is identified with me and lets herself be dominated by my will is the repeater of the divine acts. Her love, her adorations, her prayers and everything she does, is the outpouring of God which she receives, so as to be able to say, "It is your love that loves you, your adorations that adore you, your prayers that pray you, it is your will that, investing me, makes me do what you do, to give it back to you as your own things." Jesus kept silent, but then, as though taken by an irresistible emphasis of love, he added, "Oh, power of my will, how great you are! You alone unite the greatest and highest being with the littlest and lowest being, making them one. You alone have the virtue of emptying the creature of all that does not belong to you, to be able to form in her, with your reflections, that eternal sun which, filling heaven and earth with its rays, goes to blend with the sun of the supreme majesty. You alone have this virtue of communicating the supreme strength, in such a way that, with your strength, the creature can rise to that single act of God the Creator. Ah, my daughter, when the creature does not live in the unity of my will, she loses the one strength and remains as though disunited from that strength that fills heaven and earth and sustains the whole universe as if it were the littlest feather. Now, when the soul does not let herself be dominated by my will, she loses the one strength in all of her actions, therefore all her acts, not coming out of the same single strength, remain divided among themselves. Love is divided, the action separated, the prayer disjointed. Being divided, all the acts of the creature are poor, meager, without light, and so patience is poor, charity is weak, obedience is crippled, humility is blind, prayer is mute, sacrifice is without life, without vigor, because since my will is missing, the one strength is missing which, uniting everything, gives the same strength to each act of the creature. Therefore, they are left not only divided among themselves, but adulterated by the human will, and so each one is left with its own defect. This happened to Adam. By withdrawing from the supreme will, he lost the one single strength of his Creator, and since he was left with his limited human strength, he felt hardship in his operating, more so, since the strength that he employed in performing one action would debilitate him, and in having to do another, he would not feel the same strength. So, he touched the poverty of his actions with his own hand. Not having the same strength, they were not only divided, but each one had its own defect. It happened as to a rich lord who possesses most extensive properties. As long as they belong to one owner only, he shows off, he makes big purchases. Who knows how many servants he maintains under himself, and with the large proceeds he receives, he keeps making new purchases. But suppose that this property were to be divided among other heirs. That's it, his great power is already lost. He can no longer show off as before, nor make new purchases. He must limit himself in his expenditures, and his servants are few. So, his greatness, his lordship, has vanished. What is left are just barely the traces of it. So it happened to Adam, by withdrawing from my will, he lost the one single strength of his Creator, and with it he lost his lordship, his dominion, nor did he feel the strength to show off in good any more. The same happens for one who is not completely abandoned in the arms of my will, because with it the strength of good converts into one's nature, and poverty does not exist.